Today I'm starting a series called We Have Been Fed a Big Fat Pack of Lies, because we have. It's been amazing the past 50 years or so since the dietary guidelines came out that said fat is bad for us and that we need to increase our intake of things like carbohydrates. There's been a huge shift in the health of the United States and across the world as people have adopted it. And I want to talk to you today about what are macronutrients, and we'll build on this series as we go forward, because I found, I'm a nurse, of course, that's who I am, but I found that a lot of people really don't understand what are macronutrients. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I was walking by on my way out to work and I saw my little grandson's little Lego building table that I have here. And I thought, oh my gosh, when I'm going to hold them up and let you see. So we're going to talk about how are macronutrients like Lego building blocks. So there's actually just 3 macronutrients that we need to know about. And we need to know that there are carbohydrates, there's proteins, and there's fats. And these are macronutrients. And there's also, of course, micronutrients, which will be our vitamins and different things like that. And there's fiber, but macronutrients, there's 3. And so when we look at whatever food we're eating, they're going to be probably one or a combination of the 3 of these. And so let's first talk about fats. Fats, when the new guidelines came out about the food pyramid, came out many years ago, we were told that these were bad, that when you eat fat, it makes you fat, and that when you eat fat, it turns into cholesterol and clogs your arteries. Well, there's a lot of research, which we'll talk about in subsequent videos, or you can look online and find out that this is really not the enemy. Fat is your friend. There's something I read online that says fat makes your pants fall off, but this is one of the macronutrients. The second macronutrient would be protein, and the third would be carbohydrates. So we've been told for many years, drop the fat, no fat or low fat, and then you want to, that only leaves 2 macronutrients, and that leaves either protein or carbohydrates. So let's talk about how these are broken down. So first off, when we take our proteins, and I have these chosen for a reason. We were told that these were bad, and carbohydrates were good, and protein, you know, is what it is. So when we have our body, when we eat protein, the body will break these down into little components. So protein is broken down into amino acids, all right? And the body needs protein. We have to have protein, whether you're a vegan or a vegetarian or an omnivore, you eat, you know, vegetables and meat, you've got to have protein to survive. It's the most abundant thing that we have in our muscles. So that's protein. Protein breaks down into amino acids. And there's essential amino acids we must get from our diet because our body cannot produce them. Now let's look at the second macronutrient I want to talk about, and that's fats. These are supposedly the evil things. Well, they're not. When fat breaks down, it basically breaks down into triglycerides. It breaks down, there's some cholesterol if we're, you know, and it breaks down into really basically some essential fatty acids. Now remember that we have essential amino acids from our protein, we have essential fatty acids from our fat, and then we've got carbohydrates. Now carbohydrates will always break down into glucose. I don't care if you're eating an orange, I don't care if you're eating a donut, I don't care whatever it is you're eating, bread, pasta, even spinach. There are carbohydrates in that, and they're going to break down, and the body's going to take these in the digestive process, and it's going to break them down into sugar or glucose. Now the glucose enters our bloodstream, and it has to be addressed. It has to get out of the bloodstream with insulin, and insulin's one of the big things we'll talk about later. Oh, and let me tell you about sugar, about carbohydrates. None of them are essential. They are not essential to life. I must have protein. I must have fat to survive. Actually, I can survive without donuts, pasta, bread. I do want green leafy vegetables in my diet, but when this breaks down into sugar, it is not essential for my life. My body can actually make sugar and make glucose out of the protein that I eat. It's called gluconeogenesis. But I just wanted you to know that, and if you'll look down here at the table for me, my husband's my videographer, and I just want to show you that all these little components are very essential for function other than these. All right, so we're going to talk about the value as we go forward of ketogenic living, where I have a lot of fat in my diet. All right, I want a lot of fat because that is actually the only macronutrient that will not spike an insulin response. I want a lot of fat. I want a moderate amount of protein. And I do need, we can have just a, whoops, there we go. We can have just a few carbs. So when I stack these up and I look at ketogenic living, which is what has really helped me, those of you that have stayed with me or you've watched some of my earlier videos, I was trapped in thought about food all the time. I was addicted to food. I couldn't understand why a woman that is successful in other areas of her life could not manage her eating. Well, I found out that when I was believing the dietary guidelines that I needed to have low fat and high carbs, I was constantly hungry because my blood sugar would go up. In response to the glucose I ate, it would slam down, and an hour or two after I ate, I felt hungry. So when we go high protein, high fat, medium protein, low carbs, it shifts our metabolism, and we go from glucose-driven fuel source to a ketone-driven fuel source. So we'll talk about that in our next video, but I wanted to thank you for continuing to watch the videos. Join me in this ketogenic lifestyle. There's different ways that we can, even if we want to have ketosis and we're not willing to make these dietary changes right away, you can drink, and these little blue ones are the exogenous ketones. You can actually drink ketones now, a little packet you tear open, very palatable. If you're interested in that, you can message me. But we want to have ketones as our fuel source. We don't want to have glucose as our fuel source. So that's how macronutrients are like Lego building blocks, because our body, whatever we consume, is going to break them down into usable components. And what's the only thing out of the three that's not essential for my life? That would be carbs. Hey, have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.